No more political talk for the rest of the show. All right. So the next thing I have to talk about, I do have to speak on this because it actually relates to the topic in which we will be discussing today. So just if you just joining me, today we're talking about Big Ten's payday. Recording this, it is Friday, November 1st, 2024. College football is ramping up. Woo! College football is ramping up. It is must win after must win after must win after must win. From here on out, it is must win football now. All right. And we got a big day tomorrow when it comes to the Big Ten, starting off with Ohio State taking on Penn State. And then we're right after that, we get to tune into Michigan versus Oregon. And it's going to be, it's going to happen. Again, myself as a Michigan fan, we got the number one team. I believe in my team. I believe in the culture at the Big House. I do believe that this opportunity to have the number one team come into your house, I believe we will get it done. I believe you're going to play with some pride. I believe we have the culture, right? Again, I'm not saying Oregon's not going to, I'm not saying anyone's going to win. I'm not going to pick an opponent because of I'm kind of going to put my fan hat on when I'm talking tomorrow's game. But I'm not going to sit up back here and just talk like Oregon's going to walk into the Big House and just tap that ass. That ain't going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen. Truly don't believe that's going to happen. All right. But Michigan actually, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because that actually leads me into the topic of the show today. Michigan has actually been in the news. Not for winning any games, unfortunately, but we've been in the news this past week because we apparently, and this is all speculation, this is all rumors, we have we're in the running for this high school quarterback, the number one quarterback. His name is Bryce Underwood. And we've been in the news because apparently there's been talk about him currently. Bryce Underwood is currently committed to LSU, and there's been talk about him flipping on LSU and coming and joining the Michigan Wolverines, which again, me taking the fan hat off, I don't really like it personally. I hate the fact that I'm always an advocate. Me personally, I'm always an advocate, especially someone that has actually played the game, scouted the game, has coached the game, has been involved with the game for so long. I personally don't like the idea of a high school football player making a commitment to a school, a hard commitment to a school, the way Bryce Underwood did to LSU. I don't like the idea of a high school man, young high school kid, committing somewhere and then deciding in the 11th hour that you're going to go decommit and flip and go somewhere else. Again, I understand that it's necessary given the world, the college football landscape. I understand that it's necessary, seeing that you never know with the way these conferences realign and the way coaches can go get called up and move and the way they're shuffled around. I understand that it has to be considered, and I understand you can't necessarily fault the young man. And even though I am a Michigan fan, I would like to see Bryce Young keep his commitment that he made to the university. Now, this is barring any coaching changes. If the O coordinator, I believe it's Coach Sloan at LSU, if he goes and takes a head coaching job, or if something happens with Brian Kelly, if LSU has a pretty bad year, then it doesn't finish well, doesn't finish strong, I can sort of understand. I could see Bryce Underwood saying, okay, look, this is my hometown team. Bryce Underwood is actually from Michigan. I could see him seeing that, look, this is my hometown team, number one. Number two, I see how bad it is, when it comes to the Michigan offense. I watch every game, I've seen how bad the Michigan Wolverines offense is. In Bryce Underwood's head, he could be thinking, hey, this is my time, this is my time to go establish myself. I'll be the starter day one, and we can really rebuild and get back to the championship culture. I can understand it. But at the end of the day, and I'm saying all this because it's important for a lot of you recruits to know, a lot of you business owners to know, especially if you're into the high school recruiting world and you know how beneficial sports is to society and all that. It's important that we are teaching young men the value of making a commitment, sticking to your commitment, sticking to your principles, sticking to what you said you were going to do, and how far that's going to actually take you once your playing days are over. All right. So again, I would love to see Bryce Underwood in the Michigan Wolverine uniform being a fan. However, the fan in me, the fan hat is taken off. And then now the college scout hat in me, the high school football coach hat is on. And I would prefer that a young man make his commitment and keeps his commitment, barring any coaching changes at LSU. So that's kind of just my take. So as far as what we are going to discuss today, it's all about strategic partnerships. All right. I could have easily titled this episode Strategic Partnerships, because what we're going to take a look at today is why, regardless of tomorrow's winners and losers on the field, everyone's actually a winner. Everyone's actually a winner because of the way college football has set an unbelievable example on how to utilize strategic partnerships, on how to utilize a fan base, I'm very reluctant to use the word take advantage of a fan base, because I don't believe they're actually taking advantage of a fan base, but they are making sure that they're getting the most out of the attention that they receive. And there's a lot of lessons that can be learned as a business owner when you watch the game and watch how it's developed over the years. All right. So when I titled this Big Ten Payday, it's referencing the conference that Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Oregon now, all four of these teams play in this one conference. All right. So when I was coming up, they didn't have a network. They didn't have an actual full-time Big Ten network. That did not exist. The only networks that existed were ABC. You could watch the game ABC. You could watch the game on Fox. You can watch the game on NBC, and then you'll catch a few games on ESPN and all that. But we have gotten to the point now where SEC has their own network. We've gotten to the point now where the ACC has their own network. We've gotten to the point where now where Big Ten has their own TV network. And what has happened in sponsorship, and we're talking raising capital for college football, it wasn't necessarily the sponsorship. So the way sponsorship works is there's a business out there that's going to go say, hey, I like the USC Trojans, so I'm going to go pay a couple $1,000 and I'm going to put my ads on their scoreboard. All right. It was never a reoccurring thing. It was just, look, I love the school, or I'm going to pay to, upgrade their locker room. That's usually used to be how it worked when it comes to your typical sponsorship. Now, I'll say now, but somewhere along the lines with the advent of ESPN, with TV, with the development of just being able to consume games and the popularity of the sport, what started to happen was something called TV contracts. Let me tell you, between college football and college basketball, when those TV contracts started to become a thing, and you saw the zeros that were behind them, the advertising, the amount of money that was, placed when it comes to these advertisers and how much money that these schools were getting from these TV contracts. That's when the game changed. The game changed because it wasn't just, okay, I had to go to a game to see the ads. Now I could sit back in my, wherever I am. And especially if we're talking about college football or college basketball, a lot of these people have gone to the school and they've gone on and moved on to wherever they live in their whatever their lives, but they can still keep up with their team. They can still keep up with their university without actually having to be there physically. They can sit back and they can watch the game. They can watch it. And these advertisers came in and said, all right, let's do a TV contract and we're going to fill it up. We're going to pay you this. And that the way that money was dispersed, usually the people that were negotiating these TV contracts were the actual conferences. They weren't the actual universities. The middleman between the TV deals and the actual schools was the actual conference. So what ultimately started happening is the popularity of sport grew so much to the point where I believe it was SEC. SEC was the first one to get an actual network, and they actually did it through, I believe, ESPN is the owner of the SEC network. And then once the SEC, which if you're not a football person, that stands for the Southern Eastern Conference, same conference as, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Gators, LSU, and all that kind of stuff, the quote unquote cream of the crop when it comes to college football, but they came in and they said this is just SEC sports all day, every day. You're not getting anything but SEC sports, and that really set a tone because it dominated when you're talking about recruiting. Like I was just talking about Bryce Underwood. Think about this two schools he's trying to choose between. He's choosing between LSU. SEC, and he's choosing between Michigan, which is Big Ten. Both of them if the Big Ten didn't have their own TV network, then they wouldn't even be able to be on the same playing field as an LSU because they can't offer Bryce Young the same amount of money, or they can't offer him the same things that a conference in the SEC can offer because this conference has their own network. All right. Now I'll dive deeper into this. You go to my website, makeyourmove.com, MAKEYAMOVE.com. I dive deeper into a lot of these concepts. I don't want to go too far down. I have a couple things I have to get to today, but if you understand the business and the politics, I don't want to call it politics, but if you just simply follow the money, all right, I've heard that phrase on many occasions where we're talking college football. If you just simply follow the money, you're going to see why you see kind of the same schools that are constantly on TV every single weekend. You're going to see there's a trend in regards to the schools that actually have TV networks and why they're constantly being the schools that are bringing in the best recruits every single year, why they're constantly the ones getting the cream of the crop, quote unquote, when it comes to the transfer portal, all that kind of stuff, right? So what has happened, and the reason I'm bringing this up is what has happened is when that started happening, the sponsors, the people who called themselves sponsors actually became merchants, actually became people that are able to be the ones that are merchandising and uniforming and making it so kids are coming to a school because of how much they like their uniform. They're not coming to the school because of necessarily anything to do with the academics. Not to say that they're all football players, all athletes are stupid or anything like that. I would never infer that at all. But when it comes to being an athlete, you do want to look nice. You do want to walk into a school that you see a bunch of Nike boxes on. You do want to walk into a school